Since the dawn of time, human beings have always been haunted by two questions. Why are we here? And where did we come from? Every community, therefore, has tried to answer these questions. And the answers have been carried in their myths, their songs, and their stories. Beliefs about where we came from and where we go when we die are central to our religious systems. In the traditional African society, religious beliefs were handed down through generations orally. This was done through songs, folk tales, and even ceremonies, as we're going to see later on. Traditional African beliefs about religion are pegged on the belief on the existence of gods or supernatural beings, and also the belief that there is life after death. Let's talk about these supernatural beings. Religious systems in the traditional African society can generally be divided into three categories. One, we have those societies that were monotheistic, meaning they believed in a supreme being, one supernatural being controlling everything. We see societies like the Agikoyo who believe in Gai and the Luo who believe in Nyasai or Obongo Nyakalaga. The second category, which actually are the majority, are those societies that have a polytheistic idea about religion. This means that they believe in the existence of many gods. We see that there's a higher god controlling many things, and then we have these lower gods that are very specialized and they control specific ideas and parts of our lives. We see this especially with traditional beliefs in West and Central Africa. The third category is these societies that have this idea of a dual god, two gods working together side by side. A great example is found among the Dahomey people who have Mau and Lisa as their dual god. In addition to this belief in gods and spirits, we have the central belief in ancestors or life after death. Traditionally, African societies believe that when you die, you go into another world, another realm, the realm of the ancestors or the spirits. There you go to continue with your life and to control the physical world in some form. Ancestral spirits still have a say in the physical world. As we saw with the naming songs, ancestral spirits can actually send dreams so that a child can be named after them. Ancestral spirits can also punish those who do wrong, even though most of the ancestral spirits are very kind. When they cause illness or some calamity, they do it in order to make sure that we follow the laid down rules of the society. So when you go against societal beliefs, you are punished. This is how the society maintains its moral values and beliefs. Religious songs therefore were sung to show reverence to these spirits, gods, and ancestors. And it will be interesting to note that these religious beliefs, our religions, our traditional religions, have not died. When the Abrahamic religions were introduced in the African continent, we had converts, but we also found that these religions actually were adapted to the African ideas and philosophies. Even now, our traditional religions are still alive. You find that in some parts of the world, actually, they are becoming even more prominent. Like the religion of the Yoruba people is finding a foothold in some parts of the Caribbean and South America. Our traditional African religions also had this component of medicine and magic. So medicine men were also part of religious leaders. Religious leaders were very powerful. Actually, religious leaders were seen to have been anointed by the gods and the ancestors. So they had to receive a calling, and they received this very systematic and rigorous training to get these skills and to connect themselves to the ancestors. We find people like diviners and medicine men, great medicine men. Like in the Luo community, we have this medicine man called Gorma here, who was seen even like a spirit. So these religious leaders were the bridge between the human beings and the gods and spirits. Religious songs were sung during special occasions and ceremonies. We sang them when we planted so that the gods would bless us with a bountiful harvest. We sang them even when we harvested so that we could thank them for keeping their promise. We sang them when there was a calamity such as a drought and we needed to ask for mercy so that we could get out of this situation alive.
Tino oleo, tawobi owero, karwan olelo, amon olelo, tino oleo, tawobi owero, karwan olelo.
We sang them also even before we went to war as part of our war songs, so that the ancestors, the spirits, could guide our paths and bless us with victory. The belief about life after death is very important to us as human beings, because if we didn't have this kind of idea, life would be really, really sad. Because the idea of knowing that even when you die, you're going to continue living in a different form gave us some kind of solace. In the traditional African society, we showed this connection between the gods and us through sacrifices and pouring libations. So we could bring crops, we could bring cattle, we could cook food, or we could even bring precious stones and present them to the gods and the ancestors. Ancestral spirits are supposed to be remembered, because in some communities we believe that this is the only way we can keep them living in the land of the dead. In Mexico, we have this day called Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. During this period, we come together as a family and celebrate and remember those who've gone before us, our forebears, our relatives who have died. And this is a celebration. It is not mourning, because we know that wherever they are, they're still alive in some form. This is captured so well in the movie Coco. And in the movie, we are reminded that these ancestors die a second and final death in the land of the ancestors when the last person on earth who remembers them dies. And that is why keeping their memory alive is very important, because that is the only way they can continue living in the land of the ancestors.
Dia de los Muertos has begun. It's the one night of the year our ancestors can come visit us.
I thought it might have been one of those made-up things. I was just... But
Tonight is about family.
In West Africa, we have these elaborate ceremonies where we sing religious songs and we summon the spirits and the gods. One of the most famous celebrations is called Okui, and we see this in Gabon and Cameroon, where someone will dress in some kind of costumes. They will take the form of a god, and then there's going to be drumming and singing. And in that kind of situation, we find that these people get into a trance. This person performing get into this meditative state where they now take the form of the spirit, and the people watching look at this person as that spirit or the god. This is very important to remind people of who they believe in, what they believe in, and this also serves to show reverence to the gods, to make them happy, because they're going to feel like they are loved. A day is set aside just to celebrate them. From these illustrations, we can see that our traditional African religions have not actually died. They still exist, and even when we take other religions, we kind of try to make them fit into this African context. One thing we saw with colonization is that our indigenous ethnic religions were actually frowned upon when other religions were brought, and we were told that these are primitive. But as we have illustrated, our religions have not died. And it is very important that when we look at oral literature, we see these little things that remind us of the people or gods or ancestors that we actually believe in, and the ideas that cannot die. Religious songs, therefore, have played a very huge role in reminding us of our past, connecting us with the spirits, gods, and even ancestors, and trying to answer those two fundamental questions. Why are we here? And where did we come from?
Baba